Outranking is much more than an AI writing platform. We are, on top of that, we are a research platform. We also have the optimization of the piece that you're currently creating, so something like Surfer. And then there's also the piece where we are helping agencies to optimize previously published content.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the High Level Spotlight Sessions, where we showcase awesome marketers doing awesome marketing. Today, I am joined by Natalie Luneva. She's the co-founder of Outranking.io, an AI-powered content platform. Natalie, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks a lot.
This is the first time that we're meeting, but Natalie was actually hanging out with Robin a few weeks ago at a Dallas startup tech event, which I think went pretty well, yeah?
It went absolutely amazing, and Robin did such a great job that people are trying to listen closely to what he was trying to say, because he was definitely dropping lots of value bombs.
Nice. Well, I'm glad to hear he was representing. When he came back, he told me, "Oh, I met a bunch of great people, but I need to connect you with this company, Outranking. They've got something really cool going on that I'm sure the community would love." So we are thrilled to have you here on the show to talk about AI. I feel like AI is becoming more and more of a buzzword when it comes to content. We personally have used some of it when we sit down to create content that we're trying to rank. And I'm just fascinated, like, how does somebody get into this? Is there like a super genius? Are you the super genius? Is your other co-founder some sort of super genius?
You mean how we came up with the idea for the tool?
I get the idea. Oh, what if we could take the power of AI and leverage it in this way? But like, AI to me is this giant mystery.
Yep. And that is why the tools like Outranking and other AI content tools out there are making it easier for people to harvest the power of AI, specifically for content and for SEO.
So do you guys have like a supercomputer in your basement, or is there like a cloud AI that anybody can plug into and then just like tell it what you want it to do?
Yep, all the AI platforms out there are using something like called GPT-3, which is the AI tool that creating all of those algorithms.
So I've heard GPT-3 before. Is that related to Elon Musk? Doesn't he have like an open source AI thing?
He does. That's what it is. OpenAI is the name of the company.
Oh, really? Wow, that's fascinating. So you guys took it and said, hey, let's look at what marketers want to leverage the power of AI for?
Exactly. So my co-founder, Punkil, so he's had a lot of experience working specifically in scaling content creation and content processes in like enterprise size company. And when OpenAI opened up their platform for tools like ours to build on top of theirs, we took advantage of that. And that's when we started working on the platform.
Super cool. And how long have you guys been doing this?
So we've been out there for over a year now.
So on the strategy side, so like when you go to your site, if you hover over the platform outline, it's got content strategy, content marketing, content optimization. So the strategy side, I'm pretty familiar with. We've used tools in the past where you're basically like, hey, here's a topic that I want to write about. And it's going to go and say, well, you said this, but if you actually flip the words or whatever, that's, has the most search volume. And then it'll guide you, right? Like, hey, here are a bunch of words that you want to use and stuff when you create your content. And
the way that you explain this is very simplistic. So our module specifically for the strategy part is we connect your Google Search Console to our platform. And then our algorithm is able to pick up on where you are currently in the authority map, how authoritative your website is. And if you're very basic and just starting out, then our platform is going to suggest the keywords that are on your level. And if you're like very advanced and like you are just building on top of what you already have, the keyword suggestions for your website is going to be completely different. So it's very much based on your website and the history and where your website currently is in the authority level.
And is it true for you guys that, because I'm pretty sure the tool that we've been using, the way that it works is it looks at correlations, right? Oh, you want to rank content for this keyword. Well, what's currently ranking and what are the correlations between that content that's currently ranking? Does it work similarly?
It is similar. So we are looking at what's currently ranking for like top 20 SERP results. And then we are kind of recommending that those are the amount of sections that you need to have. And those are the keywords that you would recommend that you go after. And don't forget to include all of those other peripheral keywords to help you with your authority map. But yes, it is exactly how it works.
So what's been fascinating to me is how well it works. I have been, now granted, we already have pretty heavy domain authority, right? So I no doubt that plays a big part in it. But when we use AI to guide our content, it usually ranks really well, like right out of the gate with no links at all. I feel like it's kind of a superpower, but what I'm wondering is as more and more people start using these tools, what happens then when we're all being fed the same guidance?
So we in Outranking do not believe that a piece of content needs to be fully created by AI. We are strong on that. Every writer, every expert needs to add their own spin and their own expertise to every piece of content, because that's exactly what's happening with Google Update right now, with the helpful content update that Google rolled out a couple of days ago. Is Google is trying to figure out which content is less helpful and is just trying to spin the content that has previously been out there or currently ranking in top 20 pages, top 20 results, for example. If it's not really adding much value, there's no additional examples, there's no good screenshots or like opinions and stuff like that, it is considered not as helpful. And that is exactly what is probably Google trying to do.
So that's interesting. And to me, that's exciting because that's how I like to create content. And I'd love to see if you agree with me. But essentially, the AI tools are going to say, hey, here are a bunch of words and phrases that you should use if you want to be able to rank at the top. But it's kind of your personal spin that you put in there as well that determines whether or not the user-related metrics are going to maybe raise you or keep you there.
Yes, this is part of that. But also, like I mentioned previously, is let's say that you are just starting out or you have an established brand, then we would tell you that it is going to be impossible for you to rank for that particular keyword with your current website. So we highly recommend that you start out with less competitive keywords. Maybe go after those, search volume like 10, 30, 50, instead of going after like larger keywords that are like thousands and thousands in search volume. That is going to be pretty hard for you to rank right out of gate.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, because you can rank for a bunch of things with smaller search volumes, and collectively you get the amount of traffic that you're looking for.
Exactly. You need to build up on that authority, and that is happening like step at a time.
Yeah, it's a very interesting roadmap. And I think it creates an interesting challenge for agencies working with their clients because you can use the AI, like I said, I feel like to get you 3/4 of the way there.
Yep.
But then there's that uniqueness. And you said opinion, which I loved, because I think if we all step back and think about it, you could read 5 different things that all report the same facts, but at some point you're looking for somebody to give you an opinion on top of those facts, right? And then you decide if you agree or don't agree. And so it's an interesting challenge. for agencies to kind of be able to scale it for their clients when it's, we have to rely on clients to give us sort of their opinion.
Yep, and Outranking is much more than an AI writing platform. We are, on top of that, we are a research platform. We also have the optimization of the piece that you're currently creating, so something like Surfer. And then there's also the piece where we are helping agencies to optimize previously published content. So if we take a step back, majority of agencies that we are working with, or that I think would benefit the most from this conversation right now, are those that are currently offering content services, those that do not offer content services, but we know that the reason for that is primarily because they're lacking the process, they lacking the manpower, so they don't want to hire additional people. And also there are agencies like web design agencies that are creating the websites, and let's say that they want to focus primarily on that, and they're leaving money on the table because they can also offer the optimization of previously published content and creation of new content for those agencies. So there's an opportunity to upsell to your existing agencies, for you guys to make it an additional revenue stream, but also to help those agencies get better results, which is gonna keep those clients longer, right? So the churn rate is usually we see is dropping, and those are the biggest benefits.
See, I love that. And I mentioned to you that we spoke with a platform that was doing this type of stuff that's no longer in business anymore. And what I love about this is, for years, I mean, when I was running our agency, the name of the game was just volume. And we all just sold content packages of X amount of 500 or 1,000 word blog posts per month. And we were just churning out really, low level, mediocre content to just kind of get this volume, because it was like, the more keywords we get on your site, the more Google's going to see you as the authority on it, and yada, yada, yada. And then I feel like that just stopped. That's just a terrible idea right now. And so, but all of these websites are full of all of this crappy content. And so it's an incredible opportunity to take a tool like this and go backwards, I feel like, and say, hey, what worked in the past doesn't work now. We know what works now, and we can go back and kind of, get rid of stuff, merge content, tweak stuff into what Google wants to see nowadays. And that's a brand new service when you think about it.
Exactly. And that is probably the lowest hanging fruit for agencies to deliver some value and show some results, because you don't need to crank out new content. You don't need to get much of approval. All that you need is to get the client to agree that you can deliver this service to them. And then you just start working on that. And our platform is allowing both optimization of previously published content, as far as, hey, the alt text are not there. The titles need to be improved. Those are the keywords that need to be improved. The interlinking, we even recommend all the interlinking that can help those pages to rank higher. So this is one piece of optimization. Another piece is you can paste the URL of that piece of content into Outranking, and you can just optimize that piece. And then you just send it off to your clients to say, here are all the optimization requirements. And really, it is done with one click in Outranking. And then it is something that we call optimization brief. And you send it off. And I know that agencies charging like $300 per optimization piece, per piece of content that they themselves can implement, or send it off to the client, and then, hey, client, you can implement it yourself, and then measure those results on the platform as well.
Tell me a little bit more about that, because agencies love reports that they can send out, and you said a brief. So does that mean, do you guys have like a screaming frog type of feature where it'll like spider a site and spit out a report of, hey, you've got 500 terrible pieces of content, or you've got 50 great opportunities within your content.
So the process on Outranking is you would plug in your Google Search Console, and then our platform is looking at what's currently ranking and the keywords that you're currently ranking for. Then we are recommending to filter out those keywords that are, let's say, between position 5 and 20. And those are your lowest hanging ranking opportunities for improve optimization and improve rankings. And so for that, we have our workflow where, like, once you explore each of those keywords, for every page, you are able to create optimization brief per page that is gonna, you guide it. There's basically like a dozen or so things that can be optimized. And then you guide it, and then in the end, you create a PDF that you can send it off to them to get their approval and either implement them yourself, the agency can implement it, or they implement it themselves. And then the platform is also capable of tracking. Let's say we've implemented 6 out of 12 things that we recommended, and here are the results that we now see, the changes, the improvements in rankings.
That's really interesting. I mean, changes in rankings take time, but that made me think, I could even offer like a free sample, like, hey, here's a brief, let me go execute it for you. And then once you see the result, we can talk about purchasing packs of 10 or whatever, however you want to sell it.
Exactly.
Very interesting. So you mentioned Surfer, which is the tool that we have been using. What would you say, how do you guys compare? What are the differences between Outranking and Surfer?
The big piece of Surfer optimization recommendations is how many times the keywords is used in the content, which we are not counting that. Like, we don't think that is the modern way of optimizing for SEO, on page SEO. And so we have like a dozen or so metrics to optimize a piece of content based on those things like, hey, have you included that keyword in the title? Is that keyword included in the meta description? How's your H1 looking? How many sections do you have? And are those keywords included in the section headings? Featured snippets. Do you have any featured snippets? Because if you don't, our platform can, by the way, create the snippets that can be used for Google to rank you in the featured snippet section, just because they are designed within the specific length and stuff like that for them to be ranked. And actually, we have a lot of companies that are using Outranking and are ranking for those featured snippets, which is basically position 0. We know that right now more and more Google is like implementing and adding more and more stuff, so that even if you rank number 1, like in the end, you're like really not number 1. In the end, you can be like number 5. But so with those featured snippets, we think that it's important. And so we have a lot of companies rank using Outranking. And then, keywords and NLP topics and internal links. I mentioned that we have a very cool algorithm that is picking up internal links based on your sitemap. And so you plug in your sitemap, and then our tool is able to identify what is the page rank of those pages that are most relevant about the topic that we're ranking about, and then recommending you to link from those pages to allow to pass this juice for your new piece of content to rank higher.
Very cool. Yeah, interlinking, that's a tricky topic. So to have a guide, I could see would be very valuable. On your site, I was excited to see that you guys have like a specific section for agencies. Obviously at high level, that's who we serve and who we build for. And so I was thrilled to see that. And in that section, there's something that says solve content approval struggle. So is there like an approval flow built into the platform?
So what we find, and this is part of what I mentioned about optimization of previously published content, is how you need to, like, once a piece of content needs to be published, it is like a huge approval process to go back and forth between the client, which is, yes, we have built this approval process where you can add a client or send a link with this piece of content to your client, and then the client can comment or provide any feedback or say, hey, I don't like it, or yes, go ahead and publish it. But if we are talking about optimizing previously published content, for that, you don't need client's approval. So if you're trying to optimize previously published content and you're working on improving your interlinking, for example, so you're adding internal links from other pages to that page that you're trying to rank, which is going to help it rank, and so is going to get more traffic. And all of those things that can be done, alt tags, that can be done without getting client to approve this piece of content, which is another cycle of approval, which is a big headache. Those are the things that we can recommend, the platform recommends agencies can do.
That's another really good point, in that when you go back to old content, you don't really need to get approval, right? It's already been approved. So that makes it much more appealing in my mind as a service to offer as well, because anybody who's done this before knows that getting approval for anything from a client is a pain in the butt, especially if you're expecting them to read your 1,000-word blog post or whatever.
Exactly.
You're typically going to be waiting around a while to get the approval for that.
Exactly. And so if we're talking about this workflow, then Outranking is really simplifying these processes. It is like a platform for agencies to simplify and streamline the processes and workflows, period, for entire content workflow from start to finish. We still had, I recently talked to an agency, and they are doing 100 pieces of content per month, and they're using so many different tools, including Surfer, including Google Doc, including notifying team member in Slack, and then including sending this client, email, and then going back to Google Doc, SEMrush, and all of those things. Obviously, they also need to do research in Google search results, and so all of those different tools. It's such a nightmare to try and manage with this process with different people. And so when we decided to build the tool, we said that this process needs to be very simplified. And so in Outranking, agencies are able to manage the entire workflow from start to finish, from creating strategy to creating the brief, approving the brief with the client, working on the outline, working on key points. If we need to send it out to a client one more time, this is the process when we can send it out. Then the writer works in Outranking. The writer or SEO person can also optimize this piece of content in Outranking. And then the next step is send it off for approval, again, in Outranking. And then you publish it and you track results, again, in Outranking. So all of those steps, if you go to our website on the homepage, you'll see those steps that I mentioned. There are 4, but in agencies, there's a 5th, which is approval process. So all of those steps are taken care in Outranking.
Well, I think you kind of described our exact process. So I think we might have to talk. But Natalie, thank you so much for coming on to chat about this stuff. The website is outranking.io. Guys, if you're listening and you want to check it out, do you guys do a free trial?
We used to do a free trial, guys. If you want a free trial, we don't do it anymore. But if you just want to test a couple of pieces, feel free to email us, either support@Outranking, or my email is Natalie@Outranking, and we'll be happy to give you a few credits.
Cool. That's awesome. I appreciate you doing that. And I also see there's a link to book a demo. So it looks like you can do that as well. Yep.
So we will help you set up your workflow. I talked to this content agency, and they had all of those things happening. And I'm like, why? Why do you do it this way? I don't know. We've always been doing it this way. And so they just haven't thought about the processes. So we will help map up your current process, and we will recommend where it can improve and where Outranking can take over.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Natalie. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Nice chatting with you, Chase.
You as well. And thanks for watching, guys. We will see you in the next one.